Section 1. The Shot That Froze a City. November 11th, 1942. 6:17 a.m. Stalingrad. Red October Factory District. The cold has teeth. It bites through wool, through leather, through bone. Frost crusts the shattered brick like ash. Somewhere in the ruins a rat squeals, then silence again. A young German infantryman presses his back against a collapsed wall, breathing slow, careful not to let the vapor of his breath rise too high. He's been told not to move quickly, not to stand, not to cross open ground unless absolutely necessary. Because today, like yesterday, and the day before, someone is watching. He shifts his weight slightly. A crack splits the air. The man's helmet jerks. His body goes limp before he understands he's been hit. No echo, no warning, no visible enemy. Just death delivered from somewhere in the broken city. Far across the rubble, buried deep inside the shell of an apartment building that no longer has a roof, Vasily Zaitsev lowers his rifle slowly. He does not smile, he does not celebrate, he simply exhales. One more. Zaitsev lies motionless on a slab of concrete, cheek pressed against the frozen metal of his Mosin Nagant rifle. The scope glass is cold enough to burn. His eyelashes are crusted white. Below him stretches a killing field of rubble and twisted rebar. Once it was a street, now it is a corridor of death. You can almost feel the stillness, not peaceful, heavy, watchful. He scans again. Left, right, a flicker of movement near a broken doorway. He waits. He always waits. That is his gift. Down the block, a Red Army runner crawls toward a communications post, elbows scraping stone. He pauses when he hears the shot, then listens for the familiar delay, the second crack, the return fire. There is none. He nods to himself. Zaitsev again. The name moves through the Soviet positions like a current, a rumor at first, then a certainty. There is a hunter in the ruins. He never misses. If Zaitsev is watching your sector, you might survive the day. In Stalingrad, survival is everything. The city is not a battlefield anymore. It is a maze. Collapsed stairwells, burned-out trams, craters that have become lakes of black water, the Volga visible only as a distant gray strip through smoke. Every building is a fortress. Every window is a potential grave. And somewhere within this nightmare, a former shepherd from the Ural Mountains has turned the city into his personal terrain. He does not think of it as heroism. He thinks of it as hunting, because that is what he understands. Movement, pattern, patience. He learned it as a boy tracking animals across snowfields. Now he applies it to men. In a German command post a few streets away, an officer studies a map under flickering lamplight. His name is Oberleutnant Karl Müller. He hasn't slept properly in days. A sergeant stands before him, helmet under his arm. We lost 3 more crossing the square this morning, the sergeant says quietly. Müller closes his eyes briefly. Sniper. Yes, Herr Oberleutnant. How far? The sergeant hesitates. We never see him. That is the problem. They never see him. They only see the aftermath. A man collapsing mid-stride. A sentry slumping silently out of sight. A hand twitching once, then still. Morale erodes like mortar under constant rain. The soldiers whisper now, not loudly, never loudly. There is one Soviet. He killed 7 in one day. He shoots through loopholes you cannot see. They give him a name, even when they do not know it. Der Unsichtbare. The Invisible One. Back in the ruins, Zaitsev adjusts his position by centimeters. Not inches, centimeters. A careless shift can reveal a glint of metal, a change in shadow, a disturbance in rubble. He has learned the rhythm of the Germans, the time between patrols, the hesitation before a dash, the way new replacements move too quickly because they do not yet know fear. Those are the easiest. He does not feel triumph when he takes them, only focus. A political officer crawls up beside him later that morning, face streaked with soot. "How many today?" the officer asks quietly. Zaitsev does not look away from the scope. 3. The officer exhales slowly. "They're saying your count is past 200. Zaitsev says nothing. Numbers do not matter to him. What matters is whether the Germans hesitate before crossing the street, whether they stop using certain windows, whether their officers start shouting orders instead of calmly giving them. Fear changes behavior, and behavior reveals targets. Word travels faster than bullets. By late November, the Germans are no longer just worried. They are adjusting tactics. They stop moving in daylight. They hammer suspected sniper nests with artillery. They instruct men to move only in pairs, then in threes, then in larger groups, and even that does not help. Because Zaitsev is not alone anymore. They are training others now, his methods copied, his patience taught. An entire generation of Soviet snipers is growing inside the ruins. And the Germans can feel it. Every step feels watched. Every pause feels dangerous. Every silence feels deliberate. Stalingrad has become a city where death has no face, only direction. In a battered apartment stairwell, a German private grips his rifle and stares at a doorway across the street. He has been ordered to run across and reinforce a machine gun position. He does not want to move. He knows what happens to men who move. His friend died yesterday doing the same thing. Shot clean through the eye. The private swallows hard. He waits for a moment when the smoke thickens, when visibility drops. He steps out, and in a ruined building 200 meters away, Vasily Zaitsev's finger tightens on the trigger. Far beyond the ruins, far from the shattered concrete and frozen blood, messages begin to travel. Reports intercept assessments. Not about divisions, not about tanks. About a man. A single Soviet sniper whose name is beginning to appear again and again in after-action summaries, whose impact is being described not just in kills, but in effect. Delayed advances, halted movements, widespread anxiety among frontline troops, psychological degradation. The phrase appears in a German report for the first time. Psychological degradation. And when those reports begin to stack up on the desks of higher officers, they start moving upward, toward men who do not hear gunfire, toward men who do not smell blood, toward men who sit in warm rooms and decide the fate of armies, toward Berlin, toward Adolf Hitler. And when the numbers reach him, when the scale of what is happening in the ruins of Stalingrad becomes impossible to ignore, the war will shift in a way no one on either side fully expects. Because this is no longer just about one sniper. It is about what happens when an entire army begins to believe they are being hunted. Section 2. The fear reaches Berlin. December 2nd, 1942, 9:04 p.m. Wolf's Lair, East Prussia. A fire crackles in the stone hearth, but the room is still cold. Not physically, psychologically. A map of Stalingrad dominates the far wall, pins clustered so tightly they blur into one another. The Sixth Army is outlined in red pencil, a circle tightening with every passing day. Adolf Hitler stands rigid before it, hands clasped behind his back. No one speaks until he does. "What is the explanation," he asks quietly, "for the continued delays in Sector North of the Red October works?" The officers seated around the table avoid each other's eyes. General Kurt Zeitzler, chief of the Army General Staff, finally clears his throat. "The terrain remains exceptionally hostile, mein Führer." Hitler does not turn. Stalingrad is rubble. Rubble favors the attacker. A pause. Another officer speaks carefully. "There are other factors." Hitler turns slowly now. "What factors?" The room tightens. "Snipers," Zeitzler says. The word lands wrong in a room of generals. Small, insignificant, almost embarrassing. Hitler's brow creases slightly. "Snipers." "Yes, mein Führer, not isolated, systematic." He steps forward and places a folder on the table, opens it, slides out reports. Photographs of dead officers. Field summaries. Unit strength charts annotated with red. Notes scrawled in the margin by exhausted commanders. "Morale is deteriorating," Zeitzler continues. "Movement during daylight has become increasingly difficult. Junior officers are reluctant to expose themselves. Patrol effectiveness has dropped by nearly 40% in certain sectors." Hitler studies the papers. Silently. "Too long. And this is caused by snipers." "There appears to be a central figure," Zeitzler says. "One individual in particular." A name hangs behind his teeth. He does not want to say it. "Speak," Hitler says. "Vasily Zaitsev." The name is unfamiliar in the room. Russian, rough, anonymous. "A peasant?" Hitler asks flatly. "He was a hunter before the war, mein Führer. Now he operates within the Red October and barricade districts." "How many?" The question is simple. How many divisions? How many guns? How many tanks? How many men has he killed? Zeitzler hesitates. That hesitation is everything. Conservative estimates place his confirmed kills at over 200. The room goes still. Not shocked silence. Worse, calculating silence. Hitler's gaze lifts slowly from the folder. 200, he repeats. Yes. A general shifts uncomfortably in his chair. Another glances at the map as though it might offer explanation. 200 men. 200 rifles not firing. 200 families that will receive letters. 200 gaps in the line. And more than that, 200 reasons for every other soldier to hesitate before moving. Hitler walks to the table, places both hands on its edge. Is he acting alone? No, mein Führer, Zeitzler admits. He is training others. The room darkens further. An entire sniper school has emerged within the ruins. His methods are being replicated. Replication. That is the real danger. Not a man. A model. A pattern. A disease. Hitler straightens slowly. Find him, he says. The words are not loud. They do not need to be. Find him and kill him. December 5, 1942, Stalingrad. A German corporal named Erich Weiss peers through a shattered window frame, rifle trembling slightly in his hands. He has been assigned to a new unit. A unit created specifically to hunt one man. They call it a counter-sniper detachment. He hates the name. It implies symmetry. A fair contest. This does not feel fair. 2 days ago, he watched a lieutenant step into view for less than a second. A step, a breath, a command half formed on his lips. Then blood. Weiss blinks, refocuses on the ruins outside. Every shadow looks deliberate now. Every dark window looks occupied. Every silence feels intentional. This is what fear does. It does not scream. It whispers. Zaitsev senses the shift almost immediately. Not from reports. Not from counts. From behavior. The Germans have stopped moving predictably. They have begun scanning differently, using mirrors, probing with helmets on sticks. Someone is teaching them. He studies a distant rooftop where he once took 3 shots in an hour. Now nothing. Not empty. Cautious. He murmurs to himself, barely audible. They are learning. A dangerous development. Because learning leads to adaptation. And adaptation leads to something worse. Specialists. December 9th, 1942, Berlin. A different room, different air, different silence. Propaganda Minister Joseph Goebbels sits behind his desk, reviewing Soviet broadcast transcripts with thin-lipped interest. They are celebrating him openly now, an aide says, publishing his count, his photograph. Goebbels smiles faintly. Of course they are, he says. Heroes are useful. He taps the paper thoughtfully, but heroes are also fragile. He looks up. If they have elevated one man, then destroying that man will damage more than just their morale. The aide nods slowly. Goebbels leans back. Inform the army that if this Zaitsev exists in the form they claim, he should be eliminated with priority. A pause. And ensure, he adds, that his death is witnessed. Not killed. Exposed. Crushed symbolically. Because symbols matter. Back in Stalingrad, the air feels different. Not colder. Sharper. Zaitsev shifts his rifle and studies a new vantage point he has selected. The upper floor of a half-collapsed building overlooking a railway spur. He waits. Hours pass. No targets. That too is information. They are no longer careless, which means someone is guiding them. Someone with training. Someone with experience. Someone like him. And for the first time since he entered the ruins, Vasily Zaitsev feels something unfamiliar crawl into his chest. Not fear. Recognition. Somewhere in this broken city, another sniper is now hunting. And this one has been sent for him. Section 3. The hunter becomes the hunted. December 17th, 1942. 3:28 p.m. Stalingrad. Barricade factory ruins. The light is wrong today. Too flat, too even. No hard shadows to hide in. The sky hangs like a sheet of dull steel over the broken city. Zaitsev presses himself deeper into the rubble, cheek against cold stone, breath slow. He has not fired a shot in 3 days. Not because there are no Germans, but because something is off. The silence has changed. Not empty. Organized. A Red Army spotter lies beside him, barely moving, eyes flicking across shattered windows with controlled tension. You feel it, the boy whispers. Zaitsev doesn't answer, he only nods. Because if he explains it, it becomes real. And right now, instinct is safer than words. The Germans have altered everything. Their patrols no longer move in predictable patterns. Helmets appear on sticks first. Cloaks are hung in windows as decoys. Shots ring out deliberately from one sector, only for nothing to follow. Someone is probing. Testing. Zaitsev watches a piece of rubble 30 meters away. A brick ordinary, broken. It hasn't moved in days. But something about it bothers him. He studies it for a full hour. Then another. At last, barely perceptible, the brick shifts. Not enough for an untrained eye. Enough for his. A trick. Someone else is using patience now. 2 blocks away, in the upper skeleton of a factory building, a German sniper lies just as still. His name officially is never confirmed. In German records, he is referred to only as Hauptmann Koenig. In Soviet reports, Major Erwin Koenig, a commander of a sniper school, sent personally, hand-selected. Whether the name is real matters less than the reality of his presence. He is not an ordinary soldier. He does not scan wildly. He does not fidget. He does not rush. He studies the battlefield the way Zaitsev does. As terrain, as pattern, as psychology. He has been sent with a single objective. Find the Soviet sniper. Kill him. Break the myth. Zaitsev does not know the man's name. He does not know his rank. He only knows that for the first time since he arrived in Stalingrad, someone is playing the same game. A cat does not fear mice, but a cat notices another cat. December 19th. A Soviet spotter is killed. Not randomly, not carelessly, clean, precise, through the eye. Zaitsev studies the body later. The angle, the direction, the distance. This was not a lucky shot. This was a message. Someone wants him to know. He gathers his students that night in a bombed-out cellar. Young men. Too young. They listen without speaking as he kneels over the dirt floor and draws lines with a piece of charcoal. He is watching for movement, Zaitsev says quietly, so you must become stone. They lean closer. He is watching for impatience, so you must wait longer than he can imagine. Silence. Then one of them asks, "Can he kill you?" Zaitsev looks at him. A long moment. "Yes," he says simply. No bravado. No reassurance. Just truth. And the honesty frightens them more than false confidence ever could. December 22nd. Zaitsev is almost killed. He crawls toward a new firing position when a shot snaps so close it punches stone into his face. A half-second later, and his skull would have taken the impact. He freezes. Not from fear. From calculation. He replays the moment in his mind, the angle, the sound, the direction of impact. He smiles faintly. Not amusement. Recognition. "I see you," he whispers to the ruins. The duel begins without ceremony. No announcements. No witnesses. No acknowledgement from either side. Just 2 men, buried in a destroyed city, each trying to read the mind of the other. Days pass. Then more. No kills. Only tension. Only observation. Only the knowledge that somewhere, within a few hundred meters, another scope is watching windows just as carefully. German soldiers in the sector begin to feel it. The fear changes again. It is no longer fear of an invisible threat. It is fear of 2 invisible threats. A battlefield between ghosts. December 26th. Zaitsev identifies a pattern. Not movement. Absence. A sector that should be active but is not. A building that commands too good a view but remains unused. a blind spot that feels intentional. He studies the structure through a crack in concrete. A ruined schoolhouse. Third floor, western corner. He does not fire. He waits. He waits longer than he ever has. An entire day passes. Then another. Hunger gnaws. Cold stiffens his fingers. Fatigue dulls the edge of his mind. This is where most men break. This is where impatience reveals itself. He forces himself still, because he knows something else now. The man hunting him is waiting too. And whoever moves first loses. December 30th. The smallest mistake. A glint. Not much. Barely there. Sunlight reflected for less than a second. Not enough for most men to notice. Enough for him. Zaitsev does not move. Does not breathe. He adjusts the rifle by millimeters. He waits. Because if he fires too quickly, the other man will disappear. He needs certainty. He needs confirmation. He needs the moment where patience defeats patience. And somewhere in that ruined schoolhouse, another sniper lies still, unaware that for the first time since arriving in Stalingrad, he has been seen. Section 4, The Moment of Truth. December 31st, 1942, 11:42 a.m. Stalingrad does not celebrate the end of the year. It barely acknowledges the day. Snow drifts through open wounds in the buildings. Smoke hangs low, trapped beneath a colorless sky. The ruins do not move. The city does not breathe. It simply endures. Zaitsev lies inside the shattered shell of a pipe workshop, his body molded into the rubble like another piece of debris. He has not shifted position in over 5 hours. His rifle rests against a slab of concrete, barrel aligned with a narrow window in the schoolhouse across the street. That window has been empty for days, which is why it matters. He does not watch the window. He watches everything except the window, because that is how you catch someone who knows he is being watched. The spotter beside him, Nikolai Kulikov, barely looks old enough to shave. His eyelashes are frosted white. His lips are cracked. His hands tremble slightly, not from fear, but from the cold. "Do you see him?" Kulikov whispers. "Not yet," Zaitsev murmurs. He does not blink. Not because he is forcing himself not to, but because he has forgotten how. Across the street, inside the ruined schoolhouse, another man lies motionless. He has built his position carefully. Removed loose plaster. Darkened the interior with soot. Covered reflective surfaces. Mapped every line of sight. He knows this city now. Knows its habits. Knows its rhythms. And he knows something else. The Soviet sniper is disciplined. Clever. Patient. That makes him dangerous. But it also makes him predictable. The German believes the Soviet will be watching the obvious windows. So he does not use them. He lies several meters back, using a narrow gap between fallen beams. He sees the battlefield through a slit no wider than 2 fingers. Enough. Zaitsev senses it. Not intellectually. Not logically. In the same way, a hunter senses an animal before it moves. The air feels wrong. The silence feels crowded. He does not know why, but he trusts it. He leans slightly toward Kulikov, lips barely moving. "When I lift the helmet, do not look at the window. Watch everything else." Kulikov swallows. "Yes." Zaitsev reaches slowly into his coat. Withdraws a steel helmet. German. Taken from a corpse days earlier. He lifts it just above the edge of the rubble, just enough to be seen, just enough to invite attention. He holds it there. Second stretch. Nothing happens. A minute passes. 2. Most men would lower it by now. Most men would assume failure. Zaitsev does not, because he is not baiting a nervous soldier. He is baiting someone who believes himself superior, someone who will not fire quickly, someone who will wait for the perfect shot. Inside the schoolhouse, the German sniper watches the helmet appear. He does not react. He does not shift, because he knows this trick. He has taught this trick. He smiles faintly. The Soviet is trying to force him into a mistake. But the Soviet does not yet understand. He does not fire at the helmet. He waits for the man who must be behind it. Minutes pass. Snow drifts between them. Kulikov's muscles begin to burn. He wants to move. He wants to breathe deeply. He wants the moment to resolve. But he stays still. Because Zaitsev stays still. Zaitsev lowers the helmet slowly. Then he waits. Not seconds. Minutes. He lets the tension drain. He lets the silence reset. He lets the other man believe he has won this round. Then he shifts position just slightly. Not to a new place. To a worse one. More exposed. Less safe. It feels wrong. It feels dangerous. Which is exactly why he chooses it. The German sniper notices the change. Not immediately, but gradually. A shape where there was none before. A shadow that doesn't match the others. He studies it. Carefully. Respectfully. This is not an amateur. This is not a frightened conscript. This is someone thinking. He adjusts his scope by a fraction. He does not intend to rush. He intends to end this cleanly. Zaitsev feels it. That moment, that subtle pressure in the air when another mind locks onto yours. He does not move. He does not breathe. He lets his face relax. He lets his body go heavy. He becomes rubble. Kulikov's eye catches something Zaitsev cannot see. A shift. A tiny movement in the shadows of the schoolhouse. So small it could be imagination. But Kulikov does not trust imagination. He trusts patterns. He trusts absence. He trusts what should not be there. He whispers barely audible, "Left, third floor back from the window." Zaitsev does not turn his head. He only acknowledges with the smallest tightening of his fingers. He adjusts the rifle by millimeters. He does not point it directly at the window. He points it slightly to the side, because that is where the real sniper would be. Time compresses. Everything slows. The war disappears. The city vanishes. There is only breath. There is only sight. There is only waiting. A faint movement. A shift of weight. A single eye adjusting behind glass. And then, the smallest flicker of light. Not a glint. Not a reflection. A confirmation. Zaitsev exhales. Just once. And begins to apply pressure to the trigger. Not quickly. Not eagerly. With the calm of a man who knows this is the moment that will decide everything. Behind the ruined wall of the schoolhouse, the German sniper remains perfectly still. Certain, confident, unaware that for the first time in this silent war, he is the one who is about to be outweighted. Section 5. The shot that echoed beyond Stalingrad. December 31st, 1942, 11:47 a.m. The trigger breaks, not sharply, not violently, but with the soft, final pressure of inevitability. The Mosin, Nagant recoils into Zaitsev's shoulder. The sound of the shot is swallowed by the ruins, lost among distant artillery thuds and collapsing masonry. No one in the city reacts. No one except the man in the schoolhouse. Inside the shattered third floor, the German sniper's body jerks once, not dramatically, not with cinematic collapse, just a sudden, unnatural stillness as if the city itself has claimed him. His rifle slips from his hands. Wood meets concrete. A dull, unnoticed sound. Kulikov exhales for the first time in minutes. His chest burns. His fingers ache. Zaitsev does not move. Not yet. Because certainty in this world requires more than instinct. It requires proof. They wait. 5 minutes. 10. No movement from the schoolhouse. No retaliation. No second shot. No sudden correction from another hidden observer. Only silence. And this silence is different. Not tense. Not crowded. Empty. Zaitsev moves first. Slowly, carefully, methodically. He does not rush to the building. That would be careless. That would be emotional, and emotion kills. Instead, he studies the structure through his scope again, studies angles, shadows, lines of sight. Nothing. He signals to Kulikov. They begin to move. Crossing the street takes 3 minutes. 3 minutes of open exposure. 3 minutes where every shattered window could hide another rifle. 3 minutes where death could arrive without warning. They move like ghosts, low, controlled, unhurried. Inside the schoolhouse, the smell hits first. Dust, smoke, rot, cold stone. Then they see him. The German lies half-concealed behind collapsed beams, well-positioned, carefully camouflaged, a professional's nest. Zaitsev kneels beside the body. Studies the man. Older than he expected. Lines at the eyes. Calluses on the hands. A face shaped by discipline. Not a boy. Not a conscript. A hunter. He gently lifts the man's rifle. A scoped Mauser, well-maintained, carefully customized, not issued casually. He checks the uniform. Officer insignia. This was no ordinary soldier. The news spreads quickly. Not officially. Not formally. But soldiers do not need paperwork for this kind of story. A whisper begins. The German sniper is dead. The one sent to kill Zaitsev. The one who had stalked them. The one who had changed the way the battlefield felt. Dead. By nightfall, the whispers become certainty. By morning, they become belief. And belief becomes something more powerful than orders. It becomes confidence. German soldiers feel it too. They do not know the details. They do not know the name, but they sense the shift. Because the firing patterns change. Because movement resumes in places once frozen. Because the invisible pressure eases. But something else takes its place. A new fear. If the best man sent to kill the Soviet sniper is gone. What does that say about the Soviet sniper? January 2nd, 1943. The political officers arrive. Not to congratulate. Not to celebrate. To record. They interview Zaitsev in a cramped basement lit by a single hanging bulb. A notebook is opened. A pencil poised. How did you defeat him? One asks. Zaitsev considers the question. He does not say skill. He does not say luck. He does not say superiority. He says simply, he made one mistake. What mistake? He believed the city belonged to him. The officer writes it down. He underlines it. The story does not stay in Stalingrad. Because stories are weapons now. Pravda prints his name. Red Star publishes his photograph. Broadcasts mention him nightly. Not as a soldier, as a symbol. The hunter of Stalingrad. The eyes of the Volga. The death of fascist shadows. His confirmed kills are published. 201, 205, 210. The numbers climb. Not all of them precise. Not all of them verifiable. But that does not matter, because the effect is real. German soldiers read intercepted leaflets, hear rumors from prisoners, sense the reputation growing around a man they cannot see. A single sniper becomes larger than life, larger than truth, larger than death. And in Berlin, the reports return. Not about tactics, not about territory, about morale. Goebbels reads them in silence. He does not like symbols he does not control. He does not like myths he cannot shape. And this one is dangerous, because it tells a story where the invincible German war machine is not feared, a story where one man can defy it, a story where fear has changed sides. Back in Stalingrad, Zaitsev does not celebrate. He does not drink. He does not boast. He does not recount the duel. He returns to the ruins, returns to the waiting, returns to the work, because there are still targets, still students, still eyes watching windows. The war does not care about legends. It only cares about outcomes. One of his young trainees approaches him days later. "Is it true," the boy asks, "about the German sniper?" Zaitsev studies the ruins through his scope. "Yes." "Are there more like him?" Zaitsev does not answer immediately. He watches a distant street, a movement, a helmet, a pause. Then he speaks. "There are always more." The boy swallows. "And what do we do when they come?" Zaitsev adjusts the rifle, peers through the glass, waits, and after a moment he says quietly, "Then we teach them to fear us too." In the distance a shot cracks. Another German soldier falls. Another whisper begins. And far beyond the ruins of Stalingrad, in offices and bunkers and command rooms, men who will never see Zaitsev's face begin to understand something chilling. This battle is no longer just about tanks and artillery. It is about the mind. And the mind of one Soviet sniper has already crossed the front lines. And